Now that you're more familiarized with the tools we will be using, we can start the development of the project. The first step will be to decide the concept and elements of your stream package.
We're going to start developing the starting screen, which will be used for all the other assets that we're going to develop. So it's our main screen and the most important element of our stream package. So because of that, it is very important that you research and have a clear direction of your concept and where you want to go. Here in Photoshop, I have built a mood board that I'm going to use when developing the screen of our stream package that I want to show. And you can also follow this same structure when creating yours. So here I did some previous research and I gathered some resources such as textures using the stock photos websites that I showed you earlier. I also have some references here, which are packages I have made before that I want to use as reference because they have the structure that I explained to you earlier as well, such as the background, the shapes, the text. So it has everything that I'm going to need. Here I broke down what I'm going to develop for my starting screen. So here I decided that I wanted to go with circular shapes for the stream package, and also that I wanted to use the color blue because both the shapes and the color represents balance, represents continuity, which is something I thought it would work really well for this package. So here I also thought about the typography, so both color and fonts. I'm also going to be showing you where I got this font and where you can also get free fonts and license-free fonts. And here I brought it all together, the shapes and the text, to make this quick prototype and see if everything would fit well together, which I think it did. So I'm going to be using this prototype to develop my main screen. So here beforehand, I have selected these textures and also some particles that I'm going to be using. You can use the website that I showed you before, which is Unsplash. Here I decided to get this texture and some few others. So I used Unsplash to get my images, my textures. For fonts, I usually recommend that you use Google Fonts for license-free fonts. For this mood board that I built here, the font that I'm using is this here, Arbitron. It is a sans serif font, so you can come here and choose the category that you want. So it is a sans serif font, and I decided to go with this thickness here. And also, for searching for references, I recommend you go on Behance, which is a website created by Adobe to be used as portfolio for artists. So here you can find all sorts of projects that you can use as reference. So just click here, Discover, and then you can also search for stream packages here if you want. And also, here's my profile if you want to see some of my projects and use as reference as well. So this is a great website for finding references. I basically did my research using these websites that I showed you and built this mood board so I have a clear direction of my concept and where I want to go. So now that I have everything put together, I'm going to be creating a new file here. So go ahead, click File New, then create a 920 by 1080 Full HD canvas with 72 resolution because we're creating something for web. We're not going to print it. The rest you can keep the same and click Create. Then we have this blank canvas with just a black background that we're going to use to start developing our stream package. So now you're going to use the techniques and the methods that I showed you before in our classes earlier. So here, for example, I'm going to be creating my shapes. I'm not going to be using the pen tool for now because I have the shape tool here where you can create rectangles, ellipse tool, triangles. So here I'm going to be using the ellipse tool because then I can create by pressing shift and dragging. I can create my circles, which I'm going to be using as my main shape for the stream package. So here I'm going to be developing my background first and then try and incorporate the text. I'm going to be doing the background by using my mood board from before. So basically incorporating the prototype into our screen and developing the rest so it looks like proper screen. Just developing by putting ellipses and putting the circles and also making them blend together to create a really nice composition. And keep in mind that you want to create something that has a very strong contrast. So here I can use inner shadow with a black color as well. And by doing this, you can create a nice shadow effect here. Make sure to also mess around with the opacity to create a nice effect. You can also guide yourself by using rulers. so you know where the center of your composition is and you keep everything centered and symmetrical. So here in my resources folder, I have the textures that I got on Unsplash. I'm going to be using some textures here and trying to mess around and apply a clipping mask to some of our circles here. Also, make sure that when you're applying clipping masks to a circle, you need to disable the color overlay. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the image. So here I'm applying some layer styles, which will give me a nice strong contrast. So make sure you also mess around with layer styles such as inner shadow and satin here. They give a really nice effect. They will make your shapes look different and nice as well. Go to the ellipse tool and then disabling the fill and enabling the stroke. You're also able to create just strokes. As you can see here, they also create a nice effect that you can use. So make sure to disable any effects here. So here you can control your color, for example, and enabling color overlay here. And then you can have also circle strokes, which you can use here so you can see, which you can also use in the creation of your scene. Here you can also control the thickness of it. So for example, this is 1 pixel, this is 20 pixels. You can also mess around with this. So here, for example, I was using the texture here and then I decided to use on this inner circle and I think it looks better. It really is a matter of experimenting with different shapes, different sizes, different textures. So just go ahead and have fun. I really like how this is looking. Maybe I'm going to tweak and try some different details. And also I need to finish the background. It's not complete yet. But now that we have at least a base that we can follow, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my text fitting so I can see if it's fitting with the background. And also I can make some adjustments in the text and see how it fits. So we have a notion of how the text will work with the background before continuing and finishing our background. So here to organize this, I'm going to press Ctrl G on my keyboard to create a group and rename this to background. I'm also going to put my layer 0, which is my black background here. And then I'm going to create a new layer and create a group named text. So here I'm gonna go ahead and make my text. So starting. Okay, I'm gonna adjust the kerning for my text. You can see it's 200 and I'm gonna put 0. So for this font, I'm using Orbitron Extra Bold. I think the thickness of this font works really well with the background and also the style. Here I'm gonna guide myself using my rulers to make sure it is centered. So I'll go ahead and do this and then create my secondary text, which will be stream S. And then I'm gonna adjust the kerning to 200 for this and make sure it is also centered. So here you can have an idea of how this looks. It is very important that you take into consideration the style that I showed before earlier, the typography and how the text works. So you have a visible text and also with great contrast with the background. So now I'm gonna apply the layer style. I'm gonna create a layer style that I like and that I feel that fits best with the background. Okay, so I think this works really nice for my main text. It's giving me great contrast with the background. I'm using inner shadow, satin, and outer glow. I also think this could be a little thicker, so maybe try and use black instead of extra bold. I like how this looks. And then here for my secondary text, just as I showed you here in the prototype, I'm gonna go ahead and try using this blue layer style. So here using the color blue and also adjusting my layer styles. And I'm also going to add some glow to this text. Okay, I think this works really nicely. And I'm also going to be adding my social media networks here to the screen in case I want to showcase my social media here. You can create this by using images, PNGs of the social media logos, and then just putting the text next to it and making sure everything is well spaced and centered. There we go. So now we have our text set here, and then we can start tweaking. You can make the background more visible, or you can adjust some details so your text is more visible. I'm also going to put a drop shadow here because I think it will work really nicely. So just like this, and then adjust the opacity. There we go. So 50% opacity. I'll keep the distance like this. So it creates this really nice effect. And now I'm going to start developing the rest of my background to compose and finish developing our screen. You can also try some different filters such as blur here. For this specific texture, I think this surface blur would work really well. It creates this nice blur effect. So here I'm going to use 5 for radius and 25 for threshold, and then it will create this really nice effect. I'm also tweaking the texture's saturation, lightness, and also color by using colorize. And you can see it creates a nice effect that will match the colors of our screen. You can also apply this outer glow effect to your outlines as well, and different kinds of layer style if you want. It also creates this really nice glow effect. So here you might have noticed that you want to keep the brightest circles or the brightest elements of your stream package in the center where the text is, because the bright colors will always attract the viewer's eyes more. So make sure you're not using anything too bright on the edges if that's not on purpose, because you want to keep the attention of your viewer to the center or where your text is. And also one thing that I want to mention is if you press Alt and drag your circle, it will drag from the center. So for example, if I don't press Alt, this will happen. It will drag more to this side, but if I do press Alt, it will keep it centered just like this. So there we go. We have created a very complex background that will bring your viewers' attention just by creating our shapes and applying different colors and using color contrast. So now that I'm really happy with this design in general, I'm going to go ahead and start developing my final effects, which will be lights that will bring this design to life, and also use some particles and some color corrections as well. Also, make sure you're well organized and by naming your layers so you know where everything is. So I'm going to go ahead and organize myself real quick here and then start doing the final effects. There we go. I finished organizing the background, and then we'll start placing some lights. So I'm going to be using some blue lights here, just as I showed you before with blending modes. If you use the soft round brush and then start clicking, you'll see it creates this really nice light type of effect, which creates a glow. And if you mess around with layer styles such as lighten or screen, you will create a really nice glow and highlights to your package. Also, make sure you zoom out, try to see from another perspective. When I zoomed out, I saw some details that I like to tweak and some things that I don't like. So for example, this shape here, this circle, this one right here, I wanted to remove because I think it's not fitting with the background. So make sure you zoom out and you try and tweak the final design as well. Okay, so after making some changes, I decided that I like this as my final design. So after you have your background, your text, and your final effects done, you have finished developing your main screen for your stream package, and we're going to use this visual identity and the elements that we have here to create the other assets. So here, one last thing that I want to do and show is I'm going to be adding some color correction to my final effects and particles, and then we're good to go and move on to creating the other assets. So here, to create color correction, you can use the adjustments Photoshop have here. I'm going to be using brightness and contrast to adjust the colors and the contrast of my screen. So here you can see that I have created a brightness and contrast adjustment, and then I'm going to tweak and see how I like this. So you can see this is -50 of contrast, and this is like 100 of contrast, so you can see the difference. This is not what we want, but we want something in between. Maybe let's go for 25. I think it's a good number. And also the brightness, I'm gonna have it a little bit more bright. So here I think 5 looks good. So this is the before and then after. You can see it gave a little bit more of contrast to our package. And also for the last adjustment, I'm going to be using some particles here. So here you can see that I have some particles. If you just want to see the dots, the particles, you go ahead and eliminate the black by using the light and blending mode. So this really works nicely with our composition. And I'm also going to be using some white particles here as well, just like this. And here I don't want the particles inside of our text, so I'm just gonna erase some of our particles here. But I really like this design in general. Okay, so this is how it looks. You can maybe go ahead and tweak a few details, zoom out and see how the final design looks for you. Just go ahead and do these final adjustments. Make sure you're happy with your screen because it's the main element that we're going to be using to create the other assets.
Now, you will take this first concept to the software and begin the development of the package.